What you're seeing here are tweets from separate CCP shills. Now, CCP shills are these foreign dudes who live in China and are incentivized
or women.
to dudes.
Usually dudes.
Yeah, dudes and dudettes.
Dudes and dudettes.
They're incentivized to propagandize for the Chinese government, right?
Yes.
But they go overboard. It's very, very desperate types of individuals who do this. But anyway, here's one. He says, China's consumers, sorry, I almost said communists. I'm kind of glad that Rick said Chinese communists in his little piece.
Well, because to the CCP, that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
They've drank their own Kool-Aid.
Yeah, because, most people try to avoid that.
Yeah. It's bad look.
Yeah.
It's bad PR.
It's bad PR to say Chinese communists, but they are. The Chinese Communist Party, they are communists. Anyway.
By the way, this is not a real Twitter handle. This is a real tweet, but we're covering up their Twitter handles because we don't want to promote their propaganda.
We don't want to promote propagandists, and also we don't really want people to go brigade these these poor misguided souls, because at the end of the day, their punishment is the fact that they are in the position they're in. Number one, they have to live in whichever city it is that they're, let's be honest, I'd rather not. Yeah. But the second thing is that they have to bend over for the Chinese government and sell their souls.
It's got to suck.
Right? And it's enough punishment as it is. Yeah. So anyway, this particular CCP shill said, China's consumers are forming lines in front of shops in Wuhan's Jianghan Walking Street as the economy flies high. Domestic consumption was up 7.2% in 2023 in China over 2022.
I believe you meant in Chona.
Yeah, in Chona, that's right. In Chona, dude, didn't even spell right. This poor guy.
He's going to get a pay cut.
He's going to get in some trouble for calling China Chona. Yeah. And it looks like the trend is continuing from the view on the street. Okay, so this is that stupid fallacy where they're like, the economy is doing well because here are some people buying stuff. Number one, no one's buying anything in this footage. Have you noticed? Yeah. I don't see shopping bags. There's like one shopping bag. This is a stupid thing to say because this particular walking street is a tourist destination.
This is actually counterintuitive, and I'm glad that you brought this up as a way to set up this segment because there's a huge push in China right now to ban anyone talking about if the economy is going down. And when you see a dictatorship put out videos or pictures that say, look, the economy is doing well. Everyone's shopping so much. Everything is good. You know it's the exact opposite. And China needs to learn not to do this. Yeah. Because when they put this out, it's an indicator that, wow, now I'm going to go Google and see what's happening. Oh, the economy is literally tanking.
Here's the thing, okay? Let's just say there's widespread poverty in America. I'm just using this as an example. And let's say in Arkansas and Alabama and whatever other state starts with an A, all over the country, there are people that are starving and, who are losing their jobs. 2008 financial crisis. I bet you at the height of the 2008 financial crisis, you could still go to Times Square in New York City and there'd be crowds of people.
Yeah, of course, of course.
There's always going to be crowds of people in a massive tourist destination, no matter how bad the economy is. Yeah. And this is a tourist destination. It's a walking street. Yeah. When people don't have money, they still go there.
Yeah, it's not.
They still walk around.
Also, you can't just take a 1.4 billion sample and shrink it down to a walking street in a tourist area and say this represents the entire economy. And it's a joke. When you do that, you're laying it all bare.
Just remember, when you see this, think about that. Go to Times Square or maybe go to like Hollywood or something, find a big tourist destination, and it doesn't matter how bad the economy is doing, you will still find lots of people. They'll still be jumbling around. I don't see a lot of people buying things, but, according to this dude, the economy is doing great because
it's doing what?
It's doing great. And that's simply because there are people in a tourist area. What a shock.
Again, this is really dangerous to put this kind of stuff out because it really has the opposite effect. Yeah. People grew up, especially they grew up in the Cold War in the Soviet Union, when they used to put that kind of propaganda out. It's imo yang, as they say in Chinese. It's exactly the same.
Here's another CCP show. Now, the reason why I did this is because multiple accounts are doing this. So it's a directive.
Yes.
Okay, if one shill was just going on doing this, it'd be okay. But multiple shills all at the same time? Okay, this one says, ground report. This is the streets.
That's a dog whistle, a red flag on the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Right. This is the streets. So this dude can't even speak English.
This is the streets.
This is the streets.
I believe he's South
in
African.
Hangzhou. Yeah, exactly. He's a nonce. This is the streets in Hangzhou, China. Chinese people are spending money like never before. I love China's economy.
So on the nose. It's like, you know what it reminds me of?
What?
It's like, it's kind of like going to a supermarket and saying, look at all these full shelves.
Yes.
Oh, I just can't believe how amazing this. Whenever you see full shelves at supermarkets,
yeah.
Oh, look at the streets are bustling. The economy is so good. Big warning flags that this is propaganda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, where are the shopping bags? If you're trying to say that people buying their lunch means that the economy is doing well at a cheap street food stall where it costs almost nothing.
I think the quote, I love China's economy is the best.
Yes.
Like you had to put that in.
I love China's economy. Why?
Not you, I'm saying.
Yeah,
like
the guy. Where are the shopping bags? You know? It's literally people walking around.
If you see people filming, look at the good economy, or saying, look at how much food there is in the supermarket, you can just turn that off. You can literally turn the channel and be like, well, that was propaganda.
Again, this is a tourist walking area. Okay, this is a place that people go to shop. If you're going to go shop, if you're going to go, out for the day, you go to the shopping district. So, I mean,
There's
of
like
course.
8 million people there, dude.
If you're going to want to film somebody shopping, you go to the one place in the city where everybody shops, right? And you will be able to find people shopping,
Yes.
It doesn't mean the economy is doing well. It's super stupid.
I love China's economy. I love lamp. I love wall.
Yeah, exactly. It's the stupidest thing you could ever say. I love China's economy. Well, I mean,
incredible. I love that quote.
Yeah.
I mean, they just don't know how to do propaganda. They do. They're very subversive in their propaganda, and then they can divide like Americans and stuff when they do like agitprop.
Yeah.
But when they do stuff like this, like everything is fine. Don't look here. Look at this.
The economy is booming.
Come on, guys.
Isn't that so stupid to try and make a point like that? Oh, the economy is up. How do I prove this? Let me go to the tourist shopping area and show that there are people buying things. Yes, look, everyone, the economy is fine.
Yes.
Okay, go. I dare those people to go 20 minutes outside the city and film people there.
Yes.
Is it the same? I don't think so.
No. So what that leads us into is, again, we don't notice stuff until people start doing overt, very on-the-nose slopaganda.
Yes, that is slopaganda. Yeah. We should have actually put in the soundbite. But that is slopaganda because when they start all en masse putting these things out like, the economy is great, people are buying things, then you know something's wrong.
So that's when you look into it. And a lot of people have been, economic people that look into how an economy is doing, have no indicators from the central government anymore because they're removing them, right? Yeah. So what they've decided to do is have a look at something that has indicated China's economy for a while now, and that is pork prices. And this is measuring pork countries like pork
exactly.
by meat consumption, because this is actually a fairly reliable statistic.
It is.
So if we look at this, right, there was an interview done in a very, very popular place to buy meat around Beijing, around the Chinese New Year. And this is when people are buying the most pork in particular for the Chinese New Year celebration, right?
That, by the way, is important. Oh, you blurred it out?
Yeah, well, because people in the comments are saying you better not show dog meat.
Oh, man.
Well, people get upset at dog meat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, it's true. I don't want to freak people out, but it is a reality of life in China. Sure. Go to any market.
Me and you had a personal discussion about this. Like there's certain things that really bother people, and
I'm actually more for that than you, to be honest. In the past, anyway.
I've changed.
You've changed. Okay, yeah. I don't want to shock people with dog meat, but it's there. Well, that is dog meat, by the way.
Anyway, the meat consumption leading up to a holiday should be absolutely.
Glad you left in that little paw.
Well, now you can see. Well, it's got to be some evidence, right?
You
I'm not going to get rid of all of it.
You got to be like,
who do you think I am?
It's real.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, not trying to be facetious here, but dog meat is a thing in China.
Oh,
and you can buy it everywhere.
Yeah, we've covered this.
Really gets on my nerves when people pretend that it doesn't exist or try to excuse it away or say that, it's only in little rural areas and stuff. I filmed dog meat in the main big cities.
Main cities, everywhere. We even found it in Shanghai.
Yeah.
Which is the place where you're not going to find it.
Yeah, and it was made illegal in Shenzhen, but it's still available everywhere you go.
On the road, it's in this footage, you'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, there might be a very light sensor on that one in compared to this one.
Okay.
Anyway, so leading up to a holiday run, you're going to be selling lots of pork, right?
Yeah.
Now, why would that indicate anything? Well, traditionally, meat was kind of seen as a rarity in China. We know people our age where meat was a luxury. Some people we knew didn't eat meat until they were teenagers.
Dude, food was a rarity.
Yes.
People starved to death during the Great Leap Backwards in the cultural devolution.
Not even talking about that generation. I'm talking about people in their 30s.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. People in their 30s, we know people that didn't have meat until they were in their teens.
Yeah, because China was poor.
So
still is in
many ways.
Big areas of China is still very poor. But literally, before China opened up in 79, 80, and Deng Xiaoping allowed the rest of the world to help invest China and help people actually make money, China really was a starving, poor backwater.
Yes.
You know?
So a quote from a meat seller here says, this time last year, this haul, what
is this pig 333?
We'll get to that.
Okay, I'll move back to some meat then, because I want to hear about your pig 333.
This haul was so squeezed, so full of people that you couldn't even move. And this is a pig seller, a pork seller.
Pork seller, yeah.
We used to sell 20 pigs a day in the holiday run-up, but this year is just selling 5 per day. That's a quarter of the meat consumption. And you can actually measure this too. There are many indicators on for example, pig333.com is literally a professional pig community, which tracks the sales and prices of pork. And as you can see, take us out of there.
A pig community, all right.
Not only has pork sales slowed down drastically in China, but also the prices have tanked, right? Yeah. That is a recipe for absolute disaster, right? It's not that there's scarcity, it's that nobody wants to buy it, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you remove all economic indicators and you say, well, we're not going to tell people how little people are buying because they don't want people to stop. They want people to stop investing in China, right? Then you have to look for other ways to document. You know what? It's a pig's face. This is a butcher. What do you expect? Right?
Yeah, I filmed that.
Yeah, we have butcher footage.
Yeah.
Then you start to look at other things.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute. China jettisoned securities watchdog had his Beijing battles turmoil. So you remember, whenever there's something real bad happening, all of a sudden you start to see people disappear from leadership positions. So the Chinese government has this dude that's supposed to oversee what the stock market is doing.
No, I think a securities watchdog is something that's international. That's going to be some... I don't think that's a Chinese government thing.
It's absolutely related to the Chinese government's policies, though, right? On what they do in the CSI, the Chinese stock market, right?
Yeah.
So what you have is a situation where they go, well, the stock market's going down. We got to get rid of this dude, right?
Yeah.
And they get a new guy, and you're like, ooh, that's another warning sign, right? But there's still no economic indicators that they're reporting, right?
Yeah.
So you have to start digging in a little bit deeper, right?
Yeah.
And you can actually look at this very clearly. The pork consumption between 53 million to 54 million metric tons in 2023. That is insane, by the way. That's a lot of pork.
54 million metric tons of pork?
Yes.
That's just Xi Jinping's consumption alone.
Yes. Which was actually, that was lower by 1 to 2 million tons. Whoa. So it dropped 1 to 2 million tons within a year.
Crazy.
Right? Why is that? Well, that's because people don't want to spend money on meat, right? If you have disposable income, you're going to put it on something else, maybe cheaper food, because guess what? People's disposable income is going down.
Big time.
People are getting poor. The stock market is collapsing.
Here's a little thing. You know, NVIDIA?
Yeah.
The NVIDIA stocks are now worth more than the entire Chinese stock market.
Correct.
Just NVIDIA.
Yes.
The way it's meant to be played.
Correct.
You know, NVIDIA as in a Riva TNT2 or whatever, or a freaking... You know what I'm talking about here? GeForce?
Yes.
You're a gamer.
The graphics cards.
You know
Everyone
NVIDIA.
knows NVIDIA.
You know NVIDIA. They're fantastic. They're awesome. And now their stock is worth more than the entire Chinese stock market. It shows you. That's not good. One company versus an entire country.
It is. By the way, people are asking, this is not a vet. It says dog meat.
Go roll.
It shows a picture of a Shiba Inu with a collar on. This is, we took this footage.
Yeah. And yes, they do eat pet dogs.
Yes,
and that's another myth that they breed dogs for eating.
Yeah.
That's not true. They eat any dog, and they actually steal pet dogs. And
it's a huge problem.
There's a huge issue with like these dog thieves that go around stealing people's pets and selling them to restaurants. That's not some urban myth.
No.
It's real.
And to give credit where credit's due, there are grassroots organizations in China with Chinese people that go and fight this.
Yeah, I've covered that before. I've done various dog meat videos on my channel. I'm pretty passionate about it. And I've actually interviewed some of those No Dogs Left Behind and all those type of organizations. But they don't even put a slight dent in the problem. That's the issue. Anyway.
So there's a huge drag on inflation, right? And there's a big problem with consumer prices that are falling. And that's a huge devastating indicator when a country it's not a good economic indicator when prices are collapsing and consumption is down too.
Yeah.
That's bad. If you have prices going down because of competition and then the economy is going up because people are buying more stuff, that's a good trend, right? Yeah. If you have prices and consumption going down, that's deflation. That's really nasty. It's a nasty thing to happen.
What's this headline over here? Sorry to interrupt you.
As China markets flow, the rest of the world is roaring ahead. So here's the issue. Before, there was a scary, scary, scary situation where people were so scared to divest from China, and if China had any economic woes or problems, it was going to have a knock-on effect for the rest of the world. And by and large, that was actually true when the world was so engrossed and entrenched in the Chinese economy.
Yeah.
But the rest of the world is literally blowing up.
Yeah.
The economies are doing excellent. The U.S. economy is doing well. Other economies around the world doing very well, as they divest from China at the same time. It's the exact opposite of what was predicted to happen, right?
It's okay. Just go to a touristy area and you'll think everything's fine in China.
That's true.
There'll be people walking around.
Read Chinese propaganda and you will be convinced that the U.S. economy is literally in shambles and that you're going to be unemployed tomorrow.
Yeah, and that China's, I don't know, GDP's up 5-point-something garbage %, which is not true. The numbers are flubbed. And also, they're very disingenuous when they say things like spending is up XYZ amount.
Yes.
Because the previous year or whatever, people were in their houses due to COVID and couldn't spend, and all the restaurants were shut down and all the shops were closed. So of course, there's going to be more spending than the year before when you couldn't buy anything.
Exactly. Food prices fell by 5.9% year on year, the lowest level on record.
And that's, like you said, is not a good thing. That means people are not buying because they can't afford it. So the shops have to lower the prices.
Quote from the meat seller guy. And again, I think these interviews are super genuine because it's just a dude that's only going to have his indicator is am I selling stuff, right? And the people around me. It's getting worse and worse year after year. There are fewer people shopping and people are buying less.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite literally in opposition to all of the shills. When the shills put out like a tweet saying the economy is doing well, people are buying more, and then they don't interview a Chinese person that's like, dude, I'm having trouble selling stuff that I usually sell. Yeah. Or ask the average person whose wage just fell. Yeah. Or ask the average college graduate that just came out that can only make $3,000 a year.
Yeah.
It can't even hit a fifth of the country's supposed national average, right?
Crazy.
All of these things start to add up and you go, wait a minute. Now I get why they're not reporting on China's youth unemployment rate and all these other figures, and they're pulling all of these metrics that we can look at because they need to make this story up.
They do.
They need to make sure that people are not completely dropping China out of the picture, because they are. If you had a real indication of how the economy is doing, you're not going to invest in China.
No, you're not. And that's the thing. You ask those shills, the government's says 7.3% increase in spending and stuff. Where'd you get that source?
My source is that I made it the f*** up.
That's
going to be your answer.
You can see China's just in January, the consumer prices fell by almost 1%, right? Then that was from Helen Xiao from BOFA Global Research Chief. I don't want to hear any BOFA jokes. Moving on.
BOFA what?
Who knows, right? You'll have to come up with your own conclusion to that.
Sure. Okay.
But moving on to that, from that, sorry. We're looking at the Chinese bubble, the economic bubble, did have a burst in 2015, right? And then the whole trade war happened in 2018, right? And that led to a synchronization of global shares dropping. That's where this fear of we cannot divorce ourselves from China. We cannot divest from China because our economy is so, again, entrenched that we go down when they go down, right?
Yeah. Does it not look like he takes his meat and rubs it on that wall behind him? Does it
that
not?
Wall is covered in blood,
doesn't it look like
Yeah,
that? Anyway, sorry, carry on.
No worries.
It kind of looks like it. It's a meat wall.
But here's the deal. Despite that happening, that is become an isolated event in history now because of the progression that we've seen in economies around the world that have divested. In fact, if we look at statistics, right, the great divergence comes as onshore Chinese stocks have lost $4.8 trillion in value since 2021.
Yeah,
$4.8 trillion. We're talking about beyond the GDP of many countries in the entire world.
Yeah.
Right? Just in the stock market.
Yeah.
Bogged down by a deepening property crisis. Remember, two of China's biggest property markets, or property developers, have gone belly up.
Sure.
Right? Deflationary pressure and the state's sweeping control over the private sector. We had a situation where the West was like, let's invest in China. It looks like the government kind of just wants to promote economic growth. They let us do whatever we want, right? Mm-hmm. Now the government steps in and says, no, your company's too big. Even Chinese domestic companies get neutered by the government. And everyone's like, well, that doesn't look very reliable. Right? Sure. That's actually really not a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Foreign investors sold a net 18.2 billion yuan in Chinese equities last month. In a month. Mm. That's to not just a 6th straight month of outflows. The central bank has been persistently supporting the yuan currency. While world stocks rose 20% last year, gold 13%, Bitcoin 155%. China's blue chip CSI 300 fell 11%.
Gold and Bitcoin raises that much because it's the Chinese, corrupt.
Divesting, yeah.
Or, people just trying to get their money out of China.
It's true. Well, it definitely has an impact on it.
Huge impact. That's where all the money comes from. 99.9% of Bitcoin value is people getting their money out of China. Obviously not, but
yes, facetiousness aside,
it's at least 80%. I'm kidding.
What's your source?
I'll tell you my source.
My source is that I made it the f up.
I'll stick to the stats here. Okay.
Okay. All right.
It has fallen 6 months in a row, down 23% since August to a 5-year low, and this is a big, big, big problem, guys. Like. Why do you think there's such a and again, when we can always see this through propaganda, whenever there's a huge priority and a mandate from the government to put out pro-economy propaganda and silence people from talking badly about it. Remember what we saw on Chinese platforms on Weibo? People were getting warning messages from the platform saying, don't talk badly about the economy.
Yeah.
Then it's bad. It's kind of like when the COVID numbers happened, right? When they just stopped counting immediately at a couple thousand or whatever it was, right? And then they're like, see, we're leading the world. And they just stop counting.
Stop counting, yeah.
Meanwhile, you go to China or you talk to anyone, like, people are dying left and right, dude.
Yeah.
My mom died. My this died, right?
Yeah, but they just put a different cause of death on the certificate.
So you have a situation where we're at an all-time low for any transparency coming out of China. And I would say we're headed for a trend for less transparency forever. I mean, there's just no reason to deal with China at this point.
Which is upcoming story we have very, very well illustrates, by the way. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the pork snout.
There's a lot of follow-up
crisis.
There's a lot of follow-up to this later in the show, though.
Yeah, you just can't hide some things.
No.
They do try their best, but sometimes it slips through because they didn't think about that.
No, they can't hide the pork price, right? Yeah. Or some Bureau of Statistics will be reporting something that's unrelated to the economy, but people can do a formula or a mathematic equation and figure out, well, that's actually representative of whatever disposable
It's just
income.
like when they use the lights from satellite pictures to
America
see the actual
downgrade the
GDP.
economy, right?
Now,
speaking of which,
guys, there's this nonsense that's going out at the moment. You see it constantly with these propagandists who are like USA versus China.
Yeah.
And they're like, China is amazing and it's in the future with high-speed rails and all this crap. And here's America. And then they show like Kensington Avenue in Philadelphia with like drug addict zombies like falling over each other in piles of trash. You know what I mean? And
turns out it's a multi-billion-dollar push from the Chinese government. It's insane.
This is hilarious.
Give that interior a little spray.
Give it a power wash.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And he taught his son to do the same.
Yeah, like father, like son, Man, this audio's deep fried.
It's so deep fried. I love it.
This guy can herd goats, though, man.
He's doing everything within his ability.
This is the most fabulous goose ever. What's going on?
This is how you attract a crowd in rural China.
This is rural ingenuity.
Pretty epic.
Yeah.
When I close my eyes, I can almost see it. When I take a breath, you fill up my life.